If you've ever stared at a night sky and felt that odd mix of wonder and smallness, we've already touched the question we're exploring today. How did life begin? It's one of those questions that lives at the crossroads of science and religion, two different ways humans try to make sense of reality. Science asks, what mechanisms could produce life? Religion often asks, what does life mean? And why is there something rather than nothing? Today, we're going to take an introductory journey into the start of life, what scientists mean by the origin of life, what major religious traditions tend to say about beginnings, and how these perspectives can clash, overlap, or simply speak to different layers of the same mystery. Think of it like looking at the same landscape with two tools, a microscope and a poem. Let's start by clearing up a common confusion. When people say the beginning, they sometimes mean the beginning of the universe, what cosmologists describe with the Big Bang. But the start of life is a different question. The universe can be billions of years old before a single living cell shows up. The origin of life is about how chemistry became biology, how non-living matter organized into something that eats, grows, and reproduces. Section 1. What counts as life anyway? Before you can explain how life began, you have to say what you mean by life. Biologists often describe living things by a set of traits. They maintain internal order, use energy, respond to their environment, and, crucially, reproduce with variation, which allows evolution. A useful analogy here is a candle flame. A flame can grow, spread, and consume fuel. It even has a kind of boundary. But it doesn't store instructions for making more flames. Life as we know it is not just a process. It's a process with memory. Living systems carry information, like a recipe, that can be copied, tweaked, and passed on. On Earth today, that information is stored in DNA and RNA. So one of the big origin of life puzzles is, how did information storage and chemical metabolism get linked up for the first time? Section 2. The scientific story. Chemistry learning to copy itself. Science doesn't currently have a single, fully confirmed narrative for the origin of life. But it does have several strong, testable ideas that fit together like pieces of a mosaic. One leading hypothesis is often called the RNA world. RNA is a cousin of DNA. What makes RNA fascinating is that it can do two jobs: store genetic information, and in some cases act like a catalyst, helping chemical reactions happen, like a tiny enzyme. If early Earth chemistry produced RNA-like molecules, and if some of those molecules could make imperfect copies of themselves, you get the spark of evolution. Once copying with errors begins, natural selection can get to work, favoring molecules that replicate more efficiently or survive longer. Another major piece is the environment. Early Earth was a very different place. Oceans forming, volcanoes erupting, lightning storms, asteroid impacts, and lots of simple chemicals. Experiments have shown that amino acids, the building blocks of proteins, can form under simulated early Earth conditions. Scientists also study hydrothermal vents on the seafloor, where mineral-rich hot water meets cold ocean water. These vents create natural gradients, differences in heat and chemistry that can power reactions. If life is like a city, gradients are like the power grid. They provide energy that can be harnessed to build complexity. Then there's the question of containers. Life needs boundaries, something like a cell membrane, to keep useful chemistry from diffusing away. Simple fatty molecules can spontaneously form bubbles called vesicles in water. That's another intriguing clue. You don't necessarily need a designer to get compartments. Chemistry, under the right conditions, can self-organize. So in broad strokes, science is exploring how three things came together: information, something like RNA; metabolism, chemical cycles that use energy; and containment, membranes. We don't know every step yet, but we can test pieces in labs, compare them with geology, and look for hints in how modern cells work. And it's worth saying this clearly. In science, "we don't know yet" is not a weakness. It's a signpost. It tells you where research is alive. Section 3. The religious story, creation, purpose, and the meaning of beginning. Religions also talk about beginnings, but they often speak in a different register. Many traditions present creation as intentional. Life is not an accident, but a gift, a calling, or a reflection of the divine. In the Abrahamic traditions, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, creation is often described as purposeful and ordered. The opening chapters of Genesis, for example, read like a cosmic poem: light and darkness, sea and sky, land and living creatures. Whether read literally or symbolically, the narrative emphasizes that existence is not random. It is declared good, and humans are given moral responsibility. In many Hindu traditions, beginnings are described in cycles: creation, preservation, destruction, and renewal. Rather than one starting gun, it's more like seasons, an eternal rhythm. Some Buddhist perspectives don't focus on a single creator deity, but explore causation and interdependence, how phenomena arise due to conditions. That can resonate, interestingly, with the scientific instinct to ask, what causes what? Religious language often answers why more than how. Why does life matter? Why do we experience awe, obligation, love, and grief? If science is mapping the machinery, religion is often interpreting the meaning of the journey. Section 4. Conflict, compatibility, and a helpful way to hold both. So are science and religion enemies here? Sometimes they can be, especially when religious texts are treated as scientific manuals, or when science is used to make sweeping claims about purpose and value that it isn't designed to answer. But there's also a long tradition of compatibility. Many believers accept evolution and natural processes, while seeing those processes as part of a larger divine intention. This view is sometimes called theistic evolution, or evolutionary creation, the idea that God creates through natural laws rather than in spite of them. On the other side, many scientists are personally religious, and many non-religious people still find spiritual meaning in the existence of life. A simple analogy: imagine asking how a symphony exists. One answer is physics, vibrating strings, air pressure waves, the biology of hearing. Another answer is music, intention, emotion, artistry. Physics doesn't cancel the music. Music doesn't replace the physics. They describe different dimensions of the same experience. When it comes to the origin of life, science works best when it sticks to mechanisms that can be tested. Religion works best when it explores purpose, moral meaning, and the human relationship to the sacred. Problems arise when either tries to do the other's job poorly. Outro: the beginning is a doorway, not a finish line. The start of life is not just a historical puzzle, something that happened once, long ago. It's also a doorway into deeper questions. What is consciousness? What makes something worthy of care? Are we alone? And what responsibilities come with being alive? Science invites us to marvel at the slow magic of matter organizing itself. Molecules becoming networks, networks becoming cells, cells becoming ecosystems. Religion invites us to ask what that marvel means and how we should live in response. And maybe the most honest posture, at least for now, is a shared one: humility. Whether you're holding a microscope or a sacred text, the origin of life reminds us that existence is strange, intricate, and, however it started, worth paying attention to. If you found this exploration helpful, keep that night sky feeling close. Wonder isn't the opposite of knowledge. Wonder is often where knowledge begins.